The morning rain tapped softly against the windows of Sweet Dreams Bakery as Karis Monroe arranged her fresh cupcakes in the display case. Each one had a tiny sugar violet, her personal touch. She cherished these quiet early hours before anyone arrived, when she could think clearly and breathe in the comforting scent of vanilla and cinnamon. Welcome to Voices of Aunti Mae. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd truly appreciate it if you subscribed and liked the video. Now, let's get back to the story. I hope you'll stay with me until the end. The phone rang at exactly 7:30, which was unusual. Customers almost never called that early. Hello, this is Karis. She balanced the receiver on her shoulder while arranging the cupcakes. Good morning, Ms. Monroe. This is Barclay Quinn from the law firm Quinn Owen & Associates. I'm calling about the estate of your godmother, Ms. Aries Holloway. Karis stopped cold. Aries had passed away 3 weeks earlier after a long fight with cancer. Karis had gone to the funeral, then buried herself in work, trying not to face the truth that she'd lost the woman who had become a second mother. Oh, yes. What can I do for you? Ms. Holloway left you an inheritance. We need to meet about the paperwork. It's urgent because of the nature of the assets. Assets? Karis asked quietly. I don't understand. She never mentioned anything. Your godmother left you her restaurant, Ms. Monroe. The legacy crown. Karis's hand shook, and one cupcake slipped to the floor. The legacy crown wasn't just any restaurant, it was Atlanta's most prestigious. Politicians, celebrities, business leaders, everyone went there. Aries had built it from a tiny cafe into a legend over 30 years. There must be a mistake, Karis whispered. No mistake, he replied. Miss Holloway was very clear. You were like a daughter to her. She believed you were the only one who could carry on her legacy. An hour later, Karis sat in Mr. Quinn's office, staring at papers confirming she now owned the restaurant, worth several $1,000,000. She knew about her diagnosis for over a year, the lawyer explained. She planned everything. There's the restaurant, the wine cellar, vendor contracts, and special arrangements for the staff. She also left you a letter. Karis took the envelope, her hands unsteady. On the front, in Aries's familiar slanted handwriting, were the words to my dearest Karis. Can I take this home? Yes, of course. But we'll need to finalize the transfer soon. The restaurant can't go long without management. Karis nodded, still stunned. She remembered walking into the Legacy Crown's kitchen for the first time at 9 years old. Her mother had been a pastry chef there until she died of pneumonia when Karis was 14. After that, Aries had taken her in, paid for her schooling, and taught her everything she knew about baking. You're special, Karis, Aries used to tell her. Your hands understand the dough, and your heart gives it life. Lost in those memories, Karis barely noticed herself signing the papers. Everything she knew about restaurants came from Aries, yet running the Legacy Crown felt overwhelming. When she got home at noon, she hoped to read Aries's letter before Jarvis returned, but his car was already in the driveway of their small Atlanta home. They'd met 6 years earlier at a charity dinner hosted by his company. Karis had been in charge of desserts. Jarvis approached her holding her lavender and honey cake, saying he'd never tasted anything so perfect. A year later, they were married. Karis, are you home? His voice sounded tight. She stepped into the living room and saw him on the sofa with a glass of whiskey. Drinking at 2 in the afternoon was unlike him. What's wrong? Why aren't you at work? Jarvis looked up. Usually handsome and composed, he now seemed shaken. My mother called. She says you inherited the Legacy Crown. Is it true? Karis froze. She hadn't told a soul yet. How could he possibly know? So it is true. He took a long drink. Karis, why didn't you tell me? I just got back from the lawyer. I planned to tell you tonight. Mom is friends with the wife of one of the waiters at the Crown. Everyone's stunned. Aries left the restaurant to you, not the chef or the managers. Karis felt heat rise to her cheeks. Of course people would talk, the owner of a tiny bakery inheriting one of Atlanta's finest restaurants.
Reimagined.
Aries was my godmother. We were very close. But this is a real restaurant, Jarvis said, standing and pacing. Do you understand what that means? This isn't a bakery with 3 tables and cupcakes. It's a multi-million-dollar business. Karis clutched the envelope with Aries' letter. Jarvis wasn't wrong. She'd never managed something so large, but Aries had trusted her. I can do this. She taught me everything. Karis, be serious. He stopped in front of her. You bake beautifully, but what do you know about wine lists, hiring staff, handling balance sheets? I can learn, she whispered. Jarvis ran a hand through his hair, his sign of irritation. Mom says it's crazy, and I agree. At the mention of Tamsin Niles, Karis felt that familiar tightness in her stomach. Her mother-in-law had never hidden her disappointment in her son's choice. She said Baker like it was an insult. What does this have to do with your mother? Karis asked. Jarvis looked away. She's coming over for dinner.
Music licensing.
She wants to discuss the situation. Discuss my inheritance? Our inheritance, he corrected. We're married, remember? The word stung. In 6 years, Jarvis had never cared about her bakery. It had always been a cute hobby. But now that something valuable was involved, suddenly everything was ours. That evening, the house filled with Tamsin's heavy perfume. As usual, she stepped in without knocking.
Artlist.io.
I'm here, darlings. Tall, impeccably styled, and flawless for her 60 years, she gave Karis a quick kiss. Such shocking news. You must be overwhelmed. Hello, Tamsin, Karis said politely. Yes, it was unexpected. I'm sure.
Music licensing reimagined.
Aries was always eccentric. Tamsin swept into the living room, tossing her coat to Jarvis. Remember, dear, I told you how she once refused to seat a state representative for being 15 minutes late. Quite the temper. Karis stayed quiet. Tamsin had never known Aries, she simply repeated gossip from the high society circles she dreamed of joining. During dinner, which Karis had prepared earlier, Tamsin launched into a plan.
Artlist.io.
I spoke to Fielding, she told Jarvis, ignoring Karis. He says we should act fast. The luxury restaurant market is booming. Who is Fielding? Karis asked. Oh, my financial advisor, Tamsin said lightly. Not important. What
Music
matters is we have 2
licensing
choices.
reimagined.
We either sell the restaurant while its reputation is strong or, she paused dramatically. I could take over. Karis nearly choked. Excuse me? Don't look at me like that, dear. Tamsin laughed. I wasn't always a housewife. I worked as an accountant and always dreamed of owning a restaurant. You never said that, Karis replied. There was no need, Tamsin shrugged.
Artlist.io.
But with this opportunity, Jarvis, honey? Jarvis shifted uncertainly between them. Mom makes sense, Karis. She understands finance, and I could handle the technical side, website, reservations, all that. And me? Karis asked. Aries left the restaurant to me. Tamsin patted her hand. Sweetheart, no one is pushing you out. You can do the desserts. They're lovely. But management takes experience. Connections. Karis felt the unopened letter in her purse. She should have read it earlier. I need time to think, she said quietly. This is a huge
Music
decision.
licensing reimagined.
Of course, dear, Tamsin said with a smile that never reached her eyes. But don't think too long. Business doesn't wait. After she finally left, Karis slipped into the bathroom, the only place she could be alone, and opened Aries' letter. My dearest Karis, Aries wrote. If you're reading this, I'm gone. Don't be too sad. I had a good life, and I'm proud of what I built. Most of all, I'm proud of you.
Artlist.io.
I'm leaving you the legacy crown, not because I lack heirs, but because you're the only one I trust with my life's work. You have everything it takes: taste, intuition, discipline, and above all, heart. You don't just feed people, you give them joy. That's rare. I know you doubt yourself.
Music licensing reimagined.
But remember, I started with a tiny cafe and no experience. All I had was passion and a willingness to learn. The staff will help you. Chef Bram Cassidy has been my right hand for 15 years. Manager Nita Price knows every detail of the operation. They're waiting for you. They'll stand with you. One more thing, Barkley hasn't given you every document yet. Some assets and instructions are with him alone.
Artlist.io.
Go to him if you're ever uncertain. Believe in yourself the way I believe in you. With love, Aries. Karis pressed the letter to her chest as tears slipped down her cheeks. Aries believed in her, and she couldn't betray that trust. When she came out, Jarvis was waiting in their bedroom holding papers.
Music licensing
Here.
reimagined.
He handed them over. Power of attorney. Mom thinks it'll be easier if you let her manage the restaurant. Just temporarily. Karis looked from the papers to the man she married. She remembered how he once praised her cakes, how he'd called her the most talented woman he'd ever met. When had that man disappeared? Or had he always been a weak son following his mother's ambitions? No, she said softly but firmly.
Artlist.io.
I'm not signing. Jarvis's face twisted in frustration. Don't be stubborn. You know you can't handle that place. Mom wants to help. No. Your mother wants to take what's mine. Karis felt something solid form inside her, strength she didn't know she had. Aries believed in me, she added. She trusted me for a reason.
Artlist.io.
Jarvis threw the papers onto the bed. Aries was a selfish old woman. She used you for free labor, free comfort, and now she's dumped a failing business into your lap. Don't talk about her like that. Karis raised her voice at him for the first time. You have no idea what she meant to me.
Music licensing reimagined.
I know you've been making cupcakes in a tiny shop for 6 years, he shot back, stepping closer. Barely scraping by. Now suddenly you have a multi-million-dollar restaurant. What do you think people will say? What will the Legacy Crowns customers think when they find out the owner has never run anything more complicated than a sheet cake? Every word hit her like a slap. Her confidence wavered. Maybe he was right. Maybe she couldn't do it. I just need time to think, she said, retreating. There isn't time, Jarvis insisted. He grabbed the papers and followed her. Mom has already talked to the vendors. They're waiting for a decision. Either you let us help or... He didn't finish, but the threat was clear.
Licensing reimagined.
Karis felt cornered. All her life she had given in, yielded, compromised, tried to please everyone. All right, she whispered. I'll sign. But only temporarily, a month at most. And I want to be informed of every decision. Relief washed over Jarvis's face. Of course, darling. That's reasonable. He laid the papers on the table and handed her a pen. Karis took it slowly, her heart heavy. She thought of Aries' smile, her voice saying, believe in yourself. Just then the phone rang, startling her. She dropped the pen. I'll get it, Jarvis muttered, annoyed. While he answered, Karis scanned the documents. The power of attorney wasn't temporary at all.
Reimagined.
It gave Tamsin full, unrestricted control of the restaurant, no limits, no conditions. It wasn't help. It was a takeover. Jarvis stormed back in. It was Mom. She talked to the chef. He says he'll quit if management doesn't act by tomorrow. We have to decide now. Karis knew it was a lie. Bram was fiercely loyal to Aries. He didn't even know Tamsin existed. And in that moment, something inside her snapped. 6 years of enduring Jarvis's dismissiveness, Tamsin's belittling, their shared belief that she was nothing more than a harmless little baker, ended. No, she said. This time her voice held steel. What do you mean, no? Jarvis barked, stepping toward her. I'm not signing anything. The legacy crown belongs to me. Aries wanted me to have it, and I won't fail her. Karis, Jarvis slammed his fist on the table. You'll ruin the restaurant. You'll destroy everything she built. Maybe, she said, meeting his glare without fear. But if I do, it will be my choice. My responsibility. Jarvis's face flushed an ugly shade as he snatched up the papers and his phone. Fine. I'll call my mother. She'll handle this. Karis watched him dial, strangely calm. She knew something in her marriage had shifted forever. And for the first time, that truth didn't frighten her. Tamsin arrived 20 minutes later, storming inside as though she owned the place.
Artlist.io.
Jarvis told me everything, she began sharply. I understand you're emotional, dear, but this isn't the time for sentimental chaos. Karis looked at her quietly. 6 years of trying to please this woman, 6 years of swallowing her criticism and pretending not to see how she controlled Jarvis. I've made a decision, Tamsin, Karis said. Her voice was even. I'm going to run the restaurant myself. Tamsin laughed, sharp and offended. Be serious, honey. You're a baker, not a businesswoman. The Legacy Crown is a machine, staff, vendors, high-profile clients. One wrong move and everything collapses. Is that what you want? No, Karis replied. And that's exactly why I won't hand the restaurant to you. Tamsin went pale, then furious. She turned to her son. Explain to your wife that she's being foolish. Jarvis looked lost, glancing between them. Karis, please, let's be rational. I am being rational, Karis said.
Music licensing
Aries trusted me.
reimagined.
I have a team ready to guide me. I can handle this. A team? Tamsin scoffed. You mean those cooks and servers? They'll never follow you. They'll see you're inexperienced and walk out. I'm willing to take that risk, Karis said, turning away. Stop. Jarvis grabbed her arm. You can't walk away. We have to settle this now. Karis pulled free. There's nothing to settle. The restaurant is mine, and I will run it. Jarvis's face twisted with anger. He stormed toward the table where the documents from the lawyer lay. Enough. He grabbed the papers. Since you can't make a sensible decision, I'll do it for you. What are you doing? Karis reached for the documents, but Jarvis shoved her aside. What you should have done from the start. He turned to his mother. Here, Mom. The restaurant is yours now. Handle it as you see fit. Tamsin's smile was triumphant as she accepted the papers. Smart boy. I always knew you'd make the right choice.
Music licensing reimagined.
Karis watched them, feeling something inside her finally break. Her husband had just handed her inheritance to his mother without even asking her. You can't do that, she said. These papers are in my name. Marital property, dear. Tamsin tapped her cheek. Jarvis has as much right to it as you do, and he chose to give it to me. It's perfectly legal. But Karis knew it wasn't. In Georgia, inheritances didn't become marital property. Still, the papers were in Tamsin's hands, and she had no intention of letting them go. Karis looked at Jarvis, trying to find the man she once loved. Instead, she saw a stranger wearing a smug, cold smile. You're going to regret this, she said softly.
Music licensing
I don't think so,
reimagined.
he said with a shrug. You'll thank us next month when Mom turns the restaurant around. Karis quietly picked up her purse and jacket. Where are you going? Jarvis asked, his voice suddenly uneasy. She gave him a small, calm smile. To my bakery. I have orders to finish. She stepped into the cool Atlanta night, the air smelling faintly of coming rain. She expected rage, heartbreak, something crushing. Instead, she felt a strange, steady peace. She had no desire to return home, where Jarvis and Tamsin were likely celebrating their victory. Sweet Dreams Bakery waited for her, her safe place. She unlocked the shop door, and the warm scent of vanilla and cinnamon wrapped around her like an old friend.
Reimagined.
She turned on the lights, taking in the tiny space she had built from nothing. 4 tables, a dessert case, a small kitchen. It wasn't the legacy crown, but it felt like home. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number she rarely used. Barclay Quinn, the lawyer answered. "How may I help you?" "Mr. Quinn, it's Karis Monroe. I'm sorry for calling so late." "Not at all.
Artlist.io.
Is everything all right?" She took a deep breath. "The restaurant deeds. My husband took them and gave them to his mother. They think they have the right to." "One moment." Barclay's tone sharpened. "Are you saying your husband took the property documents without your consent?" "Yes. He said they were marital property." Barclay gave a soft, humorless chuckle. "They are not.
Artlist.io.
Under Georgia law, inheritances remain separate unless the will states otherwise. And don't worry, we have all copies, and the originals are already registered. Whatever they think they can do, they can't change the ownership without your notarized signature." Relief loosened the knot in her chest. "So I'm still the legal owner?"
Reimagined.
"Absolutely. But if they attempt anything, it could cause complications. We should meet tomorrow morning to plan the next steps." "Agreed," Karis said quietly. "Mr. Quinn. Aries mentioned in her letter that not everything was handed over today, that there are details only you know." A long pause followed. "Yes," he said at last. She anticipated trouble. "Let's discuss it in my office at 8 tomorrow morning." "I'll be there." That night, Karis slept on the small couch in the bakery's back room. She turned off her phone. She didn't need to hear Jarvis's calls when he realized she wasn't coming home. At exactly 8, she walked into Barclay Quinn's office with a paper bag of warm
Music
croissants.
licensing reimagined.
The familiar act of baking had steadied her nerves. "Ah, Miss Monroe." Barclay stood, greeting her with a kind smile. He accepted a croissant and took a bite. "Incredible," he murmured. "Now I understand why Aries trusted you so much." "Mr. Quinn," Karis said gently, "what exactly did she foresee? And what assets was she referring to?" Barclay opened a drawer and pulled out a file.
Artlist.io.
Aries knew about her illness for a long time. She reorganized everything before she passed. He opened the folder. "The Legacy Crown isn't just a restaurant. The building itself is yours. The brand is separate. But there are additional assets she protected." He began
Music
listing them.
licensing reimagined.
The wine cellar worth over $200,000, held by a trust, Karis was the sole beneficiary. The professional kitchen equipment, leased through a company she now controlled. The vendor contracts under Aries Holloway and Associates, where Karis was named as the signing partner. Karis listened, her disbelief growing with every word. "Why such a complicated structure?" Karis asked. Barclay gave a small smile. Aries wasn't just a gifted restaurateur, she was a sharp businesswoman. She built this structure for tax reasons, but now it serves another purpose. It protects the restaurant's most valuable assets from anyone who might try to abuse them. "My husband and my mother-in-law," Karis murmured. "I don't comment on family matters," Barclay replied gently. "But Aries wanted you protected, no matter what."
Artlist.io.
He slid another document toward her, a list of the Legacy Crown's key staff with their contact information. Aries had highlighted 2 names, Chef Bram Cassidy and manager Nita Price. People she trusted completely. Karis felt a tightness in her throat. Even in death, Aries had cared for her.
Music licensing
"What do I do now?"
reimagined.
she whispered. "Technically, you can reclaim the restaurant at any time," Barclay said. "But it may be wise to wait. If your husband or his mother attempt anything without proper authorization, it would be fraud." Karis hesitated. Part of her wanted to walk into the Legacy Crown right that second and take back what was hers. But the steadier, calmer part of her urged patience. "I'll wait," she said quietly. "But I want to meet Bram and Nita. I need to know what's happening there." After leaving the lawyer's office, Karis returned to her bakery. She opened shop, served customers, and took orders, her hands busy, her mind racing. The familiar rhythm soothed her. Late in the afternoon, Franklin, the
Music
local mail
licensing
carrier,
reimagined.
pushed open the door. An older man with gentle eyes, he came almost every evening for a blueberry muffin. "Karis, dear," he said warmly, "one of your specials, please." As he ate, Karis asked, as casually as she could, "Franklin, do you still deliver downtown? Isn't the Legacy Crown on your route?" "Sure is," he nodded. "Beautiful place. And I'm so sorry about Aries. God bless her, she was something special." "Yes," Karis murmured. Then, lowering her voice, "I need to get a message to Chef Bram Cassidy. Do you think that's possible?" Franklin smiled, soft and knowing. "For you? And one of these muffins? Consider it done."
Music licensing.
An hour later,
reimagined.
Franklin delivered a short reply from Bram. "Jackson Bridge. 7 p.m. sharp." At exactly 7, Karis stood on the bridge, watching the Chattahoochee River drift beneath the fading light. The earlier rain had left the air cool and damp. "Monroe." The deep voice made her turn. A large man in his mid-40s approached, his graying hair cropped short, his blue eyes sharp and steady. His hands, scarred from years over hot stoves, told the story of a life spent in kitchens. "Mr. Cassidy," Karis said, offering her hand. "Thank you for coming. Call me Bram." He shook her hand firmly. "Let's walk. I'd rather we weren't seen together." They strolled slowly by the water as Bram described what had happened at the restaurant. "Your mother-in-law showed up this morning with your husband," he said grimly. "She introduced herself as the new owner. She waved a few papers around, I didn't look at them. But Aries warned me something like this might happen. She told Nita and me to trust you. Only you." "How did the staff take it?"
Music licensing
Karis asked.
reimagined.
Carefully, Bram said. "Most of us have been with Aries for years. We don't like sudden changes. But your mother-in-law didn't wait. First thing she did was fire Liam, the sous chef. 10 years with us, and he knows the menu like he wrote it himself." "She can't do that," Karis said, her voice tight. "Technically, she offered him severance, but, well, you know the kind of tone people use when they want someone gone." Bram sighed. Then she announced cuts. "Wants to revise the wine list, drop certain dishes she calls too fancy and pretentious." Karis felt anxiety rise in her chest. "And the reservations?" she asked quietly. That's where Nita stepped in.
Music
She explained that our regulars
reimagined.
book months ahead. Stability is what keeps the crown alive. But your mother-in-law said new business perspectives matter more than old habits. They stopped at the railing, looking out over the dark water. Bram turned to her. "Aries trusted you, Ms. Monroe. She said you had a gift, one her restaurant needed. Not just the skill to feed people, but the heart to give them memories." "That's rare," Bram said. Karis smiled, a little embarrassed. "I'm not sure I deserve such high praise." "Aries didn't hand out compliments lightly," Bram replied firmly. "If she believed you were her rightful successor, then you are." "So what happens now?" Karis asked. "How long can the staff hold out while Tamsin keeps changing everything?"
Reimagined.
Bram exhaled slowly. "Hard to say. Some, like Liam, are already gone. Others are waiting. Watching. Nita is holding the line, though it's wearing her down. As for me, I'm too old and too stubborn to adapt to foolishness. But the Legacy Crown isn't just a workplace for us. It's the family Aries built, and none of us want to lose it." They exchanged contact information, and Bram promised regular updates. The next afternoon, Karis met with Nita Price, an elegant woman in her 50s who had managed the Crown almost since the day it opened. They sat in a small cafe outside the city center while Nita described the chaos in detail. "She's firing anyone who questions her," Nita said, stirring her tea with tight, anxious movements. "She's gutted the wine list. Cut the signature dishes. And she replaced our seafood supplier with a company owned by one of her friends. Bram is furious. The food quality has already dropped, but she kept the prices exactly the same." "What about our regular customers?" Karis asked.
Music licensing
"They notice,"
reimagined.
Nita said grimly. Several have already cancelled their reservations. Judge Fitzgerald, who's eaten at the Crown every Friday for 15 years, walked out last night. Didn't finish his entree. He said, "This isn't the Crown I know." Karis felt her stomach twist as she listened. Decades of work, Aries' life's work, was being undone in less than a week. And the vendor contracts? Karis asked quietly.
Artlist.io.
Nita finally smiled. Now that's where things get interesting. Ms. Niles ordered Edward to sell half the wine collection. But when he tried to access the cellar, he couldn't. Wrong key. Turns out the cellar isn't technically part of the restaurant at all. Karis raised her brows.
Music licensing.
And how did
reimagined.
Tamsin react? She lost her temper, Nita said. Demanded immediate access to everything. But Edward told her he could only report to the legally registered owner of the collection. And that's me, Karis whispered. Yes, Nita nodded. As well as the authority to sign most of our vendor contracts. Aries planned every detail. On the 6th day after the takeover, Karis received an unexpected visit.
Artlist.io.
She was closing the bakery when the bell chimed and Jarvis stepped inside. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. I finally found you. I wasn't hiding, she replied calmly, wiping down a table. I've been here the whole time. You didn't answer your phone. You didn't
Music
come home.
licensing reimagined.
I'm sleeping in the back room, she said. The couch is comfortable enough. Jarvis seemed thrown by her calmness. Look. I know you're upset, but we need to talk. Things have gotten complicated. In what sense? Karis asked, her voice steady. The restaurant? He swallowed. There are problems. Big ones. Mom made some changes, and the staff isn't responding well. Especially that chef, Bram. He's sabotaging her orders. And Nita keeps bringing up some contract that supposedly can't be changed without your signature. Not supposedly, Karis said softly. Those contracts do require my signature. Jarvis ran a hand through his hair, agitated. Look, I know what we did wasn't right. But we meant well, and now we need your help. Just talk to the staff. Tell them Mom is acting on your behalf. But she isn't, Karis replied, meeting his eyes. She took those documents without my consent. That gives her no legal authority to act for me. Days later, things at the restaurant grew worse. Bram and Nita reported that Tamsin had rewritten the entire menu, removing gourmet dishes, replacing them with cheaper options. She fired 3 more employees, including the sommelier who objected when she tried to sell off the wine collection. Regular customers were leaving. The press began taking notice. A small article appeared in the local paper questioning what had happened to the once-renowned legacy crown. Through it all, Karis stayed calm. She continued baking, meeting with Crown employees, coordinating with her lawyer. But she made no move to interfere. Why won't you step in? Bram asked during another meeting. She's tearing down everything Aries built. I know, Karis said softly. But sometimes, you have to give someone enough rope to hang themselves. On the 10th day, Tamsin made her biggest mistake yet. She refused service to a longtime state representative, one of the Crown's most loyal patrons for over 20 years, because a friend of hers wanted his table. The scandal erupted immediately. The representative posted about it on social media. Reporters picked it up within hours. By nightfall, the legacy crown was the center of a public outcry. And that same night, Bram finally broke. He resigned rather than serve frozen dishes at fine dining prices. 4 cooks followed him out the door. With no chef, half the kitchen gone, a damaged reputation, and reservations cancelled across the board, the crown was on the brink of closure. Tamsin, inexperienced and overwhelmed, stumbled helplessly through the chaos. Jarvis finally realized his mother wasn't saving the restaurant, she was destroying it. The next morning, the legacy crown opened late. Tamsin paced the dining room, barking orders and searching for a chef. Her bright pink suit looked jarringly out of place against Aries' sophisticated dark wood interiors. I don't see the problem, she snapped, gathering the remaining staff. If one cook leaves, we'll just hire another. Atlanta is full of people who can cook. Nita Price, still doing her best to hold on to her manager role, cleared her throat gently. Ms. Niles. Bram isn't just a cook. He's a Michelin-starred chef who's been here for 15 years. People come to the Crown for his food. Tamsin brushed the comment aside with a careless wave. Oh please. People come for the reputation, the atmosphere. A star or two, who cares? As long as the plate looks decent. The staff exchanged troubled glances. Their fears were confirmed, the new owner didn't understand fine dining at all. Tamsin kept going. Robert will handle the chef duties today. Keep the menu simple. Only the popular dishes. And no French names. People should understand what they're ordering. Robert, a young chef with only 3 years in the kitchen, went pale. He was gifted, but far from ready to lead a world-class restaurant. Ms. Niles. I'm not sure I can take Bram's place. Maybe we should close for a bit and find a proper replacement. Close? Tamsin's voice sharpened. Absolutely not. The Crown will not shut its doors for a single day. You'll manage. Just simplify what Bram used to do. She turned to Nita. What are we looking at for tonight? 18 tables, Nita replied, 3 of them regulars, including Senator Harrison. Perfect. We'll be fine. But that evening marked the true downfall of the legacy Crown. Without Bram, sous chef Liam, or the experienced kitchen staff, Robert struggled. The rhythm was gone. Dishes arrived late. Some weren't cooked properly. The refinement the Crown was known for simply vanished. Senator Harrison, a dignified, silver-haired gentleman, sent his steak back twice before quietly calling Nita over. My dear, what is happening? I've eaten here every week for 20 years, and I've never been this disappointed. Nita glanced toward Tamsin, who was laughing with guests. We're facing temporary challenges, Senator. Bram is no longer with us. The senator blinked in disbelief. But he is the heart of this place. What changed? New leadership. New vision, Nita said carefully. I see, he sighed. Please give the chef my regards and my check. I won't be finishing dinner tonight. After he left, others followed. Half the tables were empty by closing time. Cancelled reservations piled up. Tamsin burst into anger. What is going on? Why so many cancellations? And why is everyone complaining about the food? Nita rubbed her temples. Miss Niles, then we find new guests, Tamsin snapped. People who want simple food, without the fuss. Starting tomorrow, prices go down 20%. I've already arranged advertising. Nita knew there was no point arguing. Tamsin listened only to herself. That same night, above the Little Sweet Dreams bakery, Karis heard a knock. Jarvis stood in the doorway, exhausted and worn. I didn't know you lived here, he murmured, taking in the small apartment. It's temporary. She handed him a warm cup of tea. Why are you here so late? Jarvis cupped the mug. The restaurant, it's not going the way we expected. Karis wasn't cruel, just tired. I'm not surprised. Bram left. Several cooks left with him. Customers aren't happy. Mom is sure it's just a rough patch, but he looked lost. I don't know. What did you think would happen, Jarvis? Karis asked softly. The Legacy Crown isn't just a building with a name. It's people, tradition, and decades of earned respect. He ran a shaky hand through his hair. I know. It's just. Mom was so certain. She always wanted a restaurant of her own. Even if it meant taking someone else's legacy, Karis finished. Jarvis winced. I'm sorry about the papers. It was wrong. Karis studied him, unsure if he was truly remorseful or simply overwhelmed. What do you want from me, Jarvis? Help us, he pleaded. Talk to Bram. Convince him to come back.
Artlist.io.
Or help us find a chef. You have connections. Karis shook her head slowly. You still don't understand. Bram won't return while your mother is in charge. He respected Eris and her vision. Your mother is trying to turn the crown into something entirely different. She just wants it more affordable, more profitable. And she's destroying its quality and reputation in the process, Karis said quietly. It will never work, Jarvis. The Legacy Crown had never been a place for the everyday diner. It was a restaurant meant for special occasions, for people who truly appreciated excellence and were willing to pay for it. Jarvis exhaled heavily. I tried to explain that to Mom, but she won't listen. She always thinks she knows best, and I can't stand up to her. It wasn't a question. It was the truth. Jarvis lowered his eyes, and that simple gesture said everything. He had lived his whole life under the grip of a controlling mother, and even at 36, he still couldn't bring himself to challenge her. I just want things to get better, he whispered. I want the restaurant to work, and I want you to come home. I want things to go back to the way they were. Karis looked at him steadily. Nothing will go back to the way it was, Jarvis. Too much has changed. The next day, Karis sat across from Barclay Quinn in his office. The lawyer greeted her with a look of quiet satisfaction.
Music licensing.
I'm hearing things aren't going well at the Legacy Crown, he said, motioning for her to sit. Yes, Karis replied. Bram is gone. Customers are unhappy. Jarvis came yesterday asking for help. And what did you tell him? That things will never be the same, she said softly. But that's not why I'm here. I need your guidance on what comes next. Barclay leaned back, studying her. Do you want to take the restaurant back? Yes. But not just take it back, I want to build something new, while honoring Aries' legacy. She pulled a notebook from her purse. I've met with Bram, Nita, and the others. They're ready to stand with me. I found a space near the old 4th Ward alley, smaller than the Crown but full of charm. Stone walls, arched windows. The owner is willing to rent with an option to buy. Barclay leaned forward, intrigued. Go on. I want to open a restaurant called Aries' Legacy. Same heart as the Crown, but with my own touch. Bram will lead the kitchen. Nita will manage. The only challenge is funding. Barclay opened a file. As I mentioned, Aries set up a very strategic structure. The wine cellar, worth over $200,000, is owned by a separate company. You're the sole shareholder. The professional kitchen equipment is also in your name through a leasing agreement. And there's an investment account Aris created for business development. About $300,000.
Reimagined.
Karis blinked in surprise. She had never known about the extra funds. Aries planned carefully, Barclay said. She wanted you to have the resources to grow, no matter what happened. You can legally use all of it to open your new restaurant. And you can remove your wine collection and equipment from the Legacy Crown at any time. They belong to you, not the restaurant. Karis absorbed this quietly. And the name? The Legacy Crown brand? The brand is yours as well, he confirmed. Registered to a company now under your control. The building is a separate asset, temporarily operated by Miss Niles, though she has no legal authority. But the brand, the recipes, the entire concept, they belong to you. A plan formed clearly in Karis's mind. She could take everything that mattered, her staff, her equipment, her wine collection, her brand, and move it to a new location, leaving Tamsin with nothing but the shell of a restaurant she didn't understand. Meanwhile, the Legacy Crown's decline continued. Tamsin's advertising campaign drew new customers, but not the ones the restaurant was built for.
Reimagined.
Those lured by low prices were disappointed. The food was still expensive by normal standards, yet the quality had plummeted. Older patrons, hearing about Bram's exit and the changing menu, cancelled in droves. And the wine list, once the Crown's pride, was reduced by half. Tamsin tried to sell off the most valuable bottles, but the sommelier couldn't access the cellar. Only Karis had the keys and the codes. On the 7th day after Bram left, reporters from a major food publication visited. They planned a feature on the restaurant's decline after Aries Holloway's passing. Tamsin, unaware of how badly this could go, welcomed them. "We're refreshing the crown," she said proudly during photos. "We're making it more modern and accessible."
Music licensing
Aries built a great
reimagined.
restaurant, but times change. "We have to stay relevant." The young journalist took notes with a sharp, knowing look. And Bram Cassidy? His departure shocked the culinary community. Tamsin dismissed it. "Bram is talented, but his style didn't fit our new direction. We're looking for a chef who believes in a more democratic cuisine." "Democratic?" the journalist asked gently. "More straightforward," she said. "Less pretentious. No need for tiny portions or French names. People just want good food." Later, he ordered one of the remaining Crown classics, lamb fillet with rosemary and truffle mash. What had once been a masterpiece now looked dull and uninspired. He took a few photos, barely touched the dish, and left. 2 days later, the article went viral. "Crown in Freefall: How Atlanta's Legendary Restaurant is Losing Its Greatness." The journalist detailed the chaos since Aries' death, the staff departures, the failing kitchen, the collapsing service. He highlighted Tamsin's comments about cost-cutting and democratic cuisine, and contrasted them with Aries Holloway's lifelong devotion to excellence. Culinary critics, bloggers, and longtime patrons flooded social media. Memories of Aries and Bram filled the feeds. Someone even created a hashtag Save the Crown Y'all. When Jarvis showed the article to his mother, Tamsin exploded. "Snobs. All of them. Do they think they know how a restaurant should run?" "Mom," Jarvis said carefully, "maybe we should rethink things. Go back to the original concept. Bring in a real fine dining chef. This is just the beginning." If you want to see how Karis fights to reclaim what's rightfully hers, don't miss the next part. Subscribe now and join me for the rest of the story. Legacy Crown is a fine dining
Music
establishment.
licensing reimagined.
Our guests expect excellence. They notice when that changes.